Hey, hello everyone. Good evening. Welcome. Hope all of you are able to see my screen and hope all of you can hear me. Can I have a quick confirmation, guys?
Yes, Murali.
Perfect. Thank you, Modi. Thanks for your confirmation. So let's have a quick recap of what we discussed yesterday and we can continue with the remaining terms. Okay. Today we will complete AE domain and tomorrow we will go with the coding part for it. Okay. All right, so I have already opened the AE examples, AE raw data, and here is the notes. All right, so first thing first. So what is adverse event? What this domain will capture? A domain primarily captures two things. One is it is going to capture events information in two different forms. One, either a pre-specified list of terms, that is there are going to be control terminologies, or you can also call it as predefined terms, right? So those we are going to record are either clinician or investigator, whatever the investigator comments or clinician comments are there about the event or the description of the event, we will also record that particular one. Correct? And again, the most important thing that we need to understand here is the events that we are talking here are, these are any untoward medical condition, that is any unexpected medical occurrence of the subject, or any medical occurrence that is not expected from the subject because of the treatment. Mainly that you need to understand, that is these events not just related to the treatment. These events may occur and these events may not have any relation with respect to the treatment or with respect to the study drug that we are testing. So this is the main thing that you need to understand. Then, what is the nature of this particular data set? The nature of the data set is such that it is going to consist one record per adverse event per subject. I mean to say, for each subject, we are going to have the different set of adverse events, right? Let me show you one raw data as well for your reference. This is going to be a raw reference. Okay, so can you see this? This is going to be the subject, right? Maybe I can filter it out. See, I have around, how many of them? 14 different instances are the 14 different adverse events recorded for the same subject. Correct? The subject ID remains going to be the same. You can see that the subject is going to be 10-001. But for this particular subject, right? For this particular subject, we have so many events. There are 14 adverse events happened for this particular one. You can see the 14 adverse event, we have different AE terms. We'll also go with that. Anyways, we have discussed that yesterday, but we'll see with the examples today. Then the topic variable is going to be AE term. AE term primarily talks about what? It will talk about what is going to be the name of the adverse event. Correct? AE term is related to what is going to be the name of the adverse event. Primarily talks about what is the name. Am I correct? So let's discuss about that now. So here, if you see this here, I can see that the AE term is going to be diarrhea. We can have something called, I'm feeling difficult to read this particular one, something called asthenia. There are different AE terms would be there, which is nothing but what is the name of the adverse event. I'm not going with the the regular terms, which is nothing but study ID, domain, U subject ID, and U subject ID, because these three are going to be the common variables that we have been discussing for the each of the domain. Study ID is nothing but the study identifier, right? And you can see that here also there is going to be a study identifier. All right, so here the study identifier is going to be simply 40. Or you can also consider the project name. This also you can consider your study identifier. Primarily, this we can consider as a study identifier, your project name, right? Then I have domain, I have unique subject ID. Unique subject ID is going to be a concatenation of 3 different variables, which are nothing but subject ID, site ID, and study ID, all these 3. Then you have sequence number. Every record, I can say that at a subject level, at a patient level, we are going to give the unique number. That unique number, you can call it as the sequence number, unique sequence number. Let me see if I have any unique sequence number for this particular one. If not, you can simply say that I can say that there are 14 different instances. Automatically, my sequence number is going to be 1 to 14. Can you see this? Right? Your record positions, you can call it as your sequence number here, because it's a raw data set. Remember, it is a raw data set. So my sequence number is going to be 1 to 14. And then let's scroll down and see what are the other things. AE term just now we have discussed. Then we have something called AE out. The AE out is going to talk about what is the outcome of your adverse event, right? So in the control terminologies, these are going to be recovered, recovering, not recovered, or it is going to be death. Correct? So if you see that, these are going to be here, what is going to be the output of this particular one, or what is the outcome of this particular one, right? If the outcome is going to be the death, then you need to give the death date as well. Correct? So if I want to go with the death date can be identified or can be extracted or can be derived based on the domain. If it is going to be a DM domain, you can directly go with death date and time in the character format, DTH, DTC. If it is going to be adverse events, the one that we are talking about, if AE term is equal to death, if AE term is equal to death, that is the adverse event is equal to death, then you have adverse event start date, end date time in the character format. We are going to discuss that today. Simply I can say that adverse event end date time in the character format will be called it as death date, because this is going to be the last event. After that, there are no other events. Correct? So the last event that happened for the patient, that happened for the subject, is going to be a AENDTC. That particular one will be called it as death time. Then it comes to the disposition domain. There also you have DS term. If the DS term is equal to death, right, then you can call it as your disposition start date and time in the character format will be considered as death date, right? Then severity, AESCV is nothing but the severity, how intense it is, how severe it is. There are 3 values for it: mild, moderate, and severe. Then AEREL, this is primarily talk about what is the relation to this particular adverse event towards your study drug or towards your treatment. You're going to do some, you're actually going with one of the study drug. All right. So if this is going to be a study drug, right, if it is going to be a study drug, in that particular case, whatever the event happened, what is the relation with this particular event with your study treatment? It can be related, it cannot be related at all, possibly related, unlikely related. All these are options are available. Correct? So if I come to this, just to check, do I have any AEREL? Yeah, here it is. Can you see? Whatever the events happened here, all these events are actually straight away related to this particular study treatment. All of them, these are going to be directly related to your study treatment. Suppose if I go to the examples that we have seen yesterday, some of them are going to be related, some of them are not related as well, because we have seen both of them. Correct? Can you see this? Definitely not related, probably related, probably not related. Correct? The same is going to be the case here. Either it will be related or it will be possibly related. If you go to the third one, related and possibly related. Can you see that? So every event that we are talking about here, what is the relation to this particular study drug? Is it straight away related? Right? Not at all related, possibly related, most likely related, or not at all related. All these are the possible scenarios. Correct? Then this one, NST stand for, right? It is a non-study treatment or non-study drug. So what is the adverse event relation towards non-study drug, right? It's most of the time it is going to be a free text because it is not related to your study drug. So there won't be any control terminology applicable here. So most of the time it is going to be a free text. Then concomitant or additional treatment, right? Is this event happened because of the additional treatment given, or because of this event have you provided any additional treatment to your subject? Then you need to write it. In this case, can you see this? You can see here. I can see, oh, here it is little clumsy. Let me put like this. Yeah. Now you can see this here. I can say that here in the first case, since it is going to be a severe one, that is, all the three events are going to be nausea only. There's no doubt about it. But in the first case, the severity is high, that is severe. So for this particular person, we have provided the additional treatment. In the remaining two cases, it is mild. So we simply have given only no additional treatment have provided to this particular one. Correct? This example we have discussed yesterday. AEACL, that is nothing but action. Is that event happened, or because of this particular event, have you made any changes to your study treatment? Because you have already a clear plan with your study treatment, what you want to do. But some unexpected event happened. Because of this particular event, have you changed any action? Right? Have you done any actions? If yes, in that particular case, we need to go with AECL. This is going to record what are the changes that have happened to your study treatment. Yesterday we discussed about it, correct? Let's say there is a person who is supposed to take two pills, morning one, same pill twice in a day, 500 mg, 500 mg morning and evening. But right after he has taken this particular medicine, he got vomited. So we are not sure what is going to be the effect of this particular one. Correct? So what we did in that particular case, again, within a short span of time, we have given another dosage. So to make sure the patient is going to be getting the regular dosage, but the regular dosage is going to be 500 mg, correct? But we have given another 500 mg of the tablet after 1 hour of the time, correct? So we have changed our regular flow. We have changed the actions that we are taking on day-to-day basis because of the event that is happened, which is nothing but the vomiting. Correct? Either we can increase the dose, we can decrease the dose, we completely withdraw the dose, or we don't change the dose at all, or if not all these, we can simply put unknown. Correct? Then AE action OTH means to say what are the other action items, right? This is not related to your study treatment at all, not at all related to your study treatment, but have you taken any other action, right? So if yes, you are going to write them. These are not going to be your control terminologies, these are going to be your free flow text. Then AESCR. So remember, there is going to be a slight difference between AESCR and AESCV. EV stands for your severity. So we have only three things there: mild, moderate, and severe. AESCR will have only two values: yes or no. Is it a serious event or not? If it is going to be a serious event, we are going to put some more variables. That is, some more variables we are going to populate. What are them? Because of the serious event, is the death happened? If yes, AES DTH. Because of this event, is the patient hospitalized? Because of is this treatment or is this event is a life-threatening one? Is this event happened because of development of the cancer? Or is it happened because of the birth defect? Is it happened, or is this event result a serious disability, or this particular one happened with the overdose, or the seriousness happened because of any other medical event. It is related to any other medical event. All these are related to the seriousness of your event. So that is the reason you can see that for all this, in addition to AE, you have also got another letter here, yes. AE, adverse event serious, followed by a remaining text. Correct? Then last one that we have discussed yesterday was group ID. Group ID is going to be the reference ID that we are giving to the R. We are tying the similar events together. That's the patient got vomiting at 3 different stages in the 3 times he got vomiting. Let's say on day 1, day 7, day 10. All these 3 are the same events because it is going to be, all these 3 are going to be a vomiting only. So I just give one number to it. So there is, the patient suffered with diarrhea twice. So for these 2, we are going to give one number. Is that clear? So these are the various terms or various data points that we have discussed yesterday. All these we discussed yesterday, but this is a long list. So I just want to have a recap so that everyone will be aligned to this particular one. So hope all of you are clear with what we discussed yesterday. Can I have a quick confirmation from everyone? Is this understandable? Wonderful. Remember guys, all the time your CRF will not have all these details, right? Most of them. So every time don't be in the assumption that I have 40 plus variables, all the 40 plus variables must be part of my SDTM. No. So we have a concept, right? What are going to be the permissible values? What are going to be the core values? What are going to be the required values? You remember? Based on that, we are going to proceed. You don't need to report each and every value from your ACRF, not required, right? Based on the values, whether it is required means mandatory, permissible means okay, still we can have it, right? If these are not permissible, if these are not mandatory, we may or may not report. We are going to see that in the coding part. So can I proceed with the today's class? Yesterday, all these are belongs to the yesterday's one only. So let's proceed with the today's one. All right. So here we are going to talk about how many of you are aware of this particular one? Because the around 5 to 10 different terms that we are going to talk now, and all these terms are related to this one. Let me type it here. We call this as, or I can write it here, MedDRA terms, or MedDRA terms are variables. Anyone have any idea what is called this MEDDRA? Can someone please tell me? Wonderful. Yes, obviously it is going to be the dictionary. What is the dictionary? Any idea? So by default, the MED stands for your medical. So it is going to be a medical dictionary. So even in the demographics domain, we discussed this. There also we talked about the relevant synonyms and all. When we discussed it, we got this particular one. Right. So it's a 5-level hierarchy. Fine. Right. So it is going to be a medical dictionary for regulatory activities. What is that? It is going to be a medical dictionary for regulatory activities, because we need to regulate the terms, right? We cannot use, let's say that there might be the medical conditions, there might be the medicines, there are going to be the medical devices, correct? So we need to use the standard set of terms, right? Those standard set of terms are going to be defined, are going to be maintained by your MedDRA. So what exactly it is? I can simply say that MedDRA is an internationally used set of terms. Remember, these are internationally defined one. We are going to use these same across the globe, right? So these are the set of terms related to three things. It can be medical conditions. Suppose if you are going to you remember for fever we have used altogether a different term in the medical dictionary, and that term is going to be same across the globe, right? So here you can call it as a fever. It's somewhere else you are going to call it as a high temperature on a local language, correct? But if you go to the medical history or the medical dictionary, here also it is going to be the same, there also it is going to be the same name. The name must be the same. So the term that you are using, the set of terms that you are using for the medical condition should be same across the globe. Similarly, it also going to talk about the medicines. All the medicines related terms should be the same. It also going to talk about the medical devices. Simply, if I talk about it, can I say these are the ones which you are going to use on day-to-day basis in your clinical industry? What are the clinical trials that you are going to perform? That primarily you are going to talk about only these three things, right? The medicines and the devices. The conditions are going to be part of it, correct? So it indirectly is going to deal with the total terms, correct? So based on MedDRA, we are going to have some specific variables in your adverse events domain. Those we are going to discuss now. The first one is going to be AEDCOD. Simply, I can call it as, yeah, DE is nothing but dictionary derived. DE stands for derived. COD stands for code. So I can simply say that this is going to be dictionary derived term code. So simply it is going to be a code. What exactly this code is going to be? That is, indirectly, if I want to talk about this, it is going to be dictionary derived text. What is that? Dictionary derived text. Of what? It is going to describe the dictionary derived text description of AE term or AE modify. AE modify I haven't discussed yet. Don't worry, we are going to discuss that today. So AE term is nothing but the name of the event, right? Right? I'll simply say that I have a back pain. What is the description for this back pain in the medical dictionary? That we are going to write there. I can say that I have headache. What is going to be the related name for the headache, or what is going to be the description of headache in your medical dictionary? All those we are going to capture here. Suppose if I want to write the example for this particular one, ideally it doesn't require, but still we can go with this. I have my AE term here, and I have my AEDCOD, which is nothing but here adverse event derived, dictionary derived code. So what I'm going to have here, simply my AE term is going to be something called high temperatures. Because AE term, the name can be anything, right? But what is going to be the medical related thing for this particular one? Can I simply say that fever? Let's say I can simply say that I'm suffering with headache. In the medical one, it is going to be a same name, or it is going to be a single one, HEADACE, right? HEADACE. So we can write, you can go ahead with your medical derived, the dictionary derived descriptions for your adverse events, right? So that is nothing but your AE dictionary derived term code. Okay, now, so here onwards, whatever we are going to discuss, these are very pretty much completely related to your medical dictionary only, which is nothing but adverse event low level term, LLT, which is nothing but adverse event lowest level term. It is not this, there is nothing much we are going to discuss this particular one. I can simply say that what is going to be the lowest level term for this particular event, and we are going to have a related code for it, and the particular code we can call it as AELLTCD. The CD stands for lowest level term code, right? Similarly, just these are lowest one. What if I have the highest for this? Adverse event high level term, adverse event high level term code. It is going to be simply, I can say that high level term. It is going to be highest level term code, right? For each adverse event term, that is term is nothing but for each adverse event, we are just giving the code. What is the high level? What is going to be the low level? All right. Then this straightforward, guys. That is the reason I'm just going on a lighter note. Right. So the next one I would like to talk here is going to be, we can go ahead with organ related one, because we all talk about it, it is going to be related to the organ, right? The body, right? Some part of your body. So that one we are going to call it as adverse event SOCCD, meaning it majorly deals about primary system, whatever is going to be the primary system organ class code. So all of them are going to be medical dictionary derived only, right? So it is only going to talk about what is your organ class. That organ class we are going to talk about this. We are going to talk about that particular one, right? Then we have something called preferred term code. That is, I'll go with AEPTCD. So you have some name given to your adverse event already, right? But what is the preferred term code as per your medical dictionary? That one we can call it as preferred term code. That is, you can give any name, but what is the preferred name for it? The preferred name will be called it as, yeah, but the preferred code will be called it as preferred term code, right? So now on the top we have already talked about one thing, which is nothing but what is the primary system organ, correct? But now we're going to talk about a slightly little different one, which is nothing but what is going to be your adverse event, sorry, body SYS, which is nothing but what is going to be your body system, what is going to be your body system, or what exactly your organ class is. This was very important. This is also dictionary derived only, right? But this particular one, who is going to give this or who is going to use this particular one? I can say that this can be used by the sponsor from the coding dictionary directly. The coding dictionary again is going to be a medical dictionary only. This BODSYS is the one which will be directly used by your sponsor from your medical dictionary. But for what purpose? This also should contain SOC. Can someone tell me what is called as SOC by any chance? You can call it as standard of care. These are also going to be a regulations. There are going to be some standard of care. So it also contain information about your SOC. Why we need to use this particular one? right? This is nothing but you already talked about primary SOC at the top, correct? Primary system organ, we have already talked about it. It may not be related to your primary SOC, but the sponsor can be used this particular one. That's because it is going to contain the information about analysis and summary. That is, this also have information about standard of care. System organ class, it is going to be not system organ of class. Here it is going to be standard of care, which is primarily used by your sponsor for analysis and summary. This also used by the sponsor for analysis and summary. All right. Then we have something called, you already have this particular one right now, which is, we just talked about the system, what class it is. What if I have a code for it? Simply, what if I have a code? So I can simply call this one as AE BD SY, the system, CD stands for code. Simply I can say that body system or organ class code, the respective code for it. The top one will be, most of time it is going to talk about the description. This one is going to talk about code, right? Guys, this will be little dry. I can say that it is going to be little dry, but all these are important for the interview purpose. That's the reason we are just what and all important, what and all required variables. We are discussing them in detail with the examples. If these are not the, your mandatory variables or permissible variables, in that particular case, we are just talking about them in the lighter note. These and all, whatever I'm talking right now, are related to your medical dictionary. So that's the reason we are not going in detail about it. All right. So now, all these are medical derived ones. Okay. Now, the next thing is going to be your AESOC. So SOC is nothing but your system organ class. So what is going to be a primary system organ class? All these are directly derived from your medical dictionary only. All right. There. So on the top, we talked about HLT, that is high level term. If you group them together, I can call that particular one as, I can put this one here, that is AEHLGT. Exactly. Wonderful. I don't know who is this ST. Yes, but good. So this is nothing but, if you group them together, I can say that high level group term, right? Then if I have a code for it, I can simply say that AEHLGT followed by CD. See, we are just simply going one after the other, right? We are not trying to remember. All we are trying to do is, what if we have one, how to derive the other one. So whatever we have discussed till this, all these are going to be a dictionary derived ones. So let's keep all these at the end, because these are dictionary derived ones. Just keep it at the one place. So we can keep it here. Right. Now continue with the remaining, because let's keep this as the last one, because anyways these are going to be medical derived terms which are low priority ones. So let's keep them at the last. Then what about the toxicity grade? What is going to be the toxicity grade? I want to measure that particular one. So for that, we are going to record all the toxicity levels by using TOXGRT. It primarily talks about what is going to be an adverse event toxicity level or toxicity grade. So generally what we can do is, these toxicity grades can be grade 1, or it can be grade 2, right? Or it can be grade 3, up to 5 we can go with. Grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5. So if it is grade 1, if I want to give the numeric value for this particular one, the grade 1 is 1. Let's say 1 means very less. Let's say I'm going with grade 2. Grade 2 is nothing but mild. It is going to be mild. Let's say, what about the grade 3 then? Or if I give the numeric number 3 here, what is going to be the value? Or what is the meaning? It is a moderate one. If I go with grade 4, which is going to be a severe one, what is the next level to the severe? If it is going to be a grade 5, can someone talk about it? Give a guess. We're talking about the toxicity levels. Exactly, Swati, you are right. Death. Right? So the toxicity levels, we are going to define it. Potentially life-threatening still, but what is going to be the worst thing? That is nothing but what is going to be the most severe thing, which is nothing but your death. Right? Already we talked about the severe. Severe itself is going to be a life-threatening one, right? But we are talking about the death now. All right. The next one is going to be whatever the adverse event that we are talking about, is it a pre-specified one in the CRF? Right? So they may, the sponsor or the sponsor itself have identified that these are going to be, okay, let's say that around 5 events, just example I'm telling you. So these 5 events are going to be, right, the pre-specified events. In the CRF itself, I want to mention this. Then those can be mentioned as AE, PRE, that is PRE stands for pre, SP stands for specified, which is nothing but pre-specified adverse events. So pre-specified means where we are going to mention them. Since these are pre-specified, the pre-specified events are the one which are actually defined in your CRF itself, the case report form itself. Correct? So what are going to be the permissible values or control terminologies? The control terminologies are going to be either yes or no. Only two things. Either it is a pre-specified one or it is not a pre-specified one. If yes, if it is a pre-specified, if it is going to be a pre-specified, then the adverse event was pre-specified in the CRF. That's the only thing that you need to understand. If it is a yes, it is already specified in your list, right? And another thing that you need to understand is values are going to be null for spontaneously reported events. What do you mean by that? If it is no, or if it is going to be missing, then I can say that are nothing but null. The meaning is going to be these are spontaneously reported ones. Right? These are not pre-specified. For spontaneously reported events, it's null. That is missing. Am I correct or not? Or you can also report it as no. Both of them are going to be same. Right. Then the other thing that we need to talk about, this doesn't have much impact, but still, because we may or we may not represent this particular one, you can call it as AEREFID. The name itself is telling reference ID, adverse event reference ID. So why do you need it? If I go to some of the examples here, I may or may not mention this particular one. Let me check this. Just check anywhere. Have I mentioned it? I haven't mentioned it here. No, I haven't mentioned it here. What about the third one? Only the group ID I have. Oh, it is not part of this. Let me check the other one. No, here also it is not there. So that's what I'm saying. It may or may not. It is going to be the reference ID. All I can say is going to be, it is going to be a reference ID, right? Again, from where it is going to be coming, from where it will come, that is important. This is going to be internal. It can be internal or it can be external identifier. It can be any of this identifier, right? Such as I can say that a serial number. You can also call it as a serial number. On from where? Serial number on SAE. Can someone tell me what is called SAE? Any idea? Or I can also call it as SAE reporting form. But what is this SAE reporting? Can anyone tell me? SAE stands for
Series address.
yes. Wonderful. Yes. It is going to be serious adverse event. All the serious adverse events we are going to record, right, in a form. So all these serious adverse event reporting forms, serial numbers can be also called it as your reference IDs, right? So what will be your serious adverse events if someone asks that? This can be anything, right? We already talked a few of them. What are that? It can be the serious adverse event, right? It results in death. That is, the event results in death. Or we also talk about, maybe I can write it in detail here, any adverse event that results in death, or any adverse event that is life threatening, or any adverse event that places subject at immediate risk of death. It is a risk, immediate risk of death. All these are going to be our the serious events, right? Or any of this that causes disability. That can be permanent, that can be temporary, but it put it in the disability. All these are going to be the serious events, right? So those we are going to record it, and in the reporting form, whatever going to be the reference number for that or the sequence number for that, that also can be, you can call it as your reference ID. But most of the times it will be null, right? And I can also, if you want to give an example, I can also say that the event that prolongs the hospitalization, right? Or the event that results hospitalization. So what is the difference between the first one and second one here? Patient is not admitted into the hospital yet, but because of this he got admitted into hospital. Patient is already in hospital, but it prolongs his hospitalization period. Any of these are going to be a serious events only, or all of these also going to be a serious events only. Correct? Now then we talk about AESPID. SP is nothing but your sponsor. So we are going to talk about sponsor defined identifier. Sponsor defined identifier. So what is this? This is the one which is defined by your sponsor itself. If it is defined by your sponsor, where it will be defined? Can I say that there are two possibilities? It may be printed in the CRF itself, printed in the CRF as an identifier, because it's already defined, right? Or it is also defined in sponsors database. So what database it is? It is going to be, sponsor is going to maintain some operational database. In the operational database also it can be available. It will be defined in any of these places. Correct? So suppose if someone asks you what is going to be the example, Murli, where I can find this? The example is going to be, you can see the line numbers on adverse event page. So we have adverse event pages, right? So in the adverse event page, you have the serial numbers. So serial numbers also can be called it as your identifiers because the sponsor have already identified them. Sponsor has already pre-specified them. Correct? Then the next thing is going to be AE modified. This is very important. AE modifi. So what exactly this AE modified is? It is nothing but modified report term. So reporting term is nothing but the adverse event only, right? So you modified it. Can I see this? Here is what my AE modified term is. Just go here. Let's see the example here. Here is AE modified, correct? So what is going to be the AE term actually? Maybe I can put like this. I can highlight these two. I can highlight these two. So initially, when you define the name of the event, you defined as pounding headache. Later on, you modified this as a headache. Then before it has back pain for 6 hours, then you have defined it as back pain, correct? So you modified your reporting term, right? For what purpose you are doing this? You're primarily doing this for the modifying the reported term for coding purpose. Remember this. Why we are doing it? We are doing this modifying the report term for coding purpose. Why? You can see it is easy to code if everything together. It is a single word, but here I have 2 words. Here I have 5 different words. Correct? I want to write it in a simple terms. Then we will go ahead with this particular one. Correct? Right. In the same one, you can also see that I'm also talking about the seriousness. AESCR is nothing but the seriousness. These two are not serious. Since these two are not the serious ones, you can see that here all the seriousness related variables are blank. Why? Only if it is serious, these will come. CONG is nothing but the additional treatment, disability, death, hospitalization, life-threatening, and what is about the ASMIE? I'm not able to recollect. Just let me see. Yeah, here it is. What is going to be another any medically important events? Medically important events. All these are blanks for it. But you can see here the severity is yes. The moment severity is yes, can you see that? Because of the severity, the event is a life-threatening one, and the subject is also hospitalized. Both of them are happened. Correct? It's a life-threatening one. Because of the life-threatening one, the subject got hospitalized. Why? These two happened because it is a serious event. You understand now? Right. So we are talking about what now? So we are talking about the oh, here we have some more terms. I forgot that. Okay. AE modify. So AE modify primarily talk about we want to modify the reporting event. Why we want to do this? We want to modify this particular one because I want to make sure the coding facility primarily for the coding facility I want to do it. So the modified text will be part of your AE modify. Remember, AE terms still have the name of the event. The modified text will be part of your AE modify. This is the best example. You can see, right? My term still is part of AE term, right? But the AE modify is the one which is going to have the details about your modified event or modified reporting term. Clear? Any questions here? The next one is going to be adverse event CAT. It is already talked, you know what is going to be this category. category of the adverse event. Which category it falls under? What is the category of the adverse event? Right. Primarily, it can be used to define a category of related events. So on the top we can see that group of related events, that is nothing but your group ID. Here it is going to be category of related events. Use it to define a category of related events or related records. For an example, bleeding. All these events are related to the bleeding one. Simple. If I have a subcategory for this particular one, that is nothing but AESCAT, which is nothing but subcategory of your adverse event. First one is going to be category, it is going to be subcategory, right? So this will be called it as a further categorization of your adverse event. For an example, this is, I can also write it. Further categorization of adverse events. So what are the examples here? Still, if I am going with neurologic, let's say neurologic. This is a subcategory, correct? Then we are also going to capture the pattern of your adverse event. So the pattern will be called it as AEPATT. So the AEPATT is the one which is going to be called it as your adverse events. Sorry, pattern of your adverse event. Right? So we can simply go ahead with this particular one, and I can say that it is pattern of adverse event. So what is going to be the pattern here? Over a period of time, what is the pattern? It is nothing but over a period of time, what is the pattern? For an example, since we are talking about the time, what will come? It can be a single event, only one event. Over a period of time, it is a single event only. It has not happened. It is not a continuous event. Or it can be intermittent, on and off, right? It is happening on and off. It is happening continuous, right? Can I say that all these are going to be your patterns? Because you are defining with the respect to the time. When I'm defining with the respect to the time, it may be happened only once. It is happening on and off. It is happening continuously. All these are going to be my patterns only. Correct? Just a second. Hey, sorry guys. Okay. So this is the pattern now. So then now we are going to enter into the dates. So once we complete the dates and periods, we are end with the year terminology. Okay. So let's go with the times. These and all are very well known to us, so we can quickly complete them. So for everything, we are going to have the start date and time, end date and time. Correct? Right. So first we are going to start with AESDT, that is your start date and time in character format. Correct? So what is the start date and time? I can simply say that start date or time in character. Okay. Start date and time of adverse event. We generally report this in a character format, which is nothing but IS What is the one? 8601 DA or what is the other one? IS 8610 DT. Am I correct? Either it can be a timestamp or it can be a time one. Correct? Then the similar one, if I go with, instead of start, I can go with the end, which is nothing but the AEEND, which is nothing but end date and time of adverse event. Same thing. Correct? Then for everything we have a study, right? DM study, subject, if for everything there is a study start date, right? Same thing will be applicable for this one as well. AESTDY, which is nothing but, what is this? Adverse event study start date. Correct? For this particular one, we are going to have the calculations, right? Correct? What are going to be the calculations? You remember this? For every time we are calculating this, AESTDY is equal to adverse event start date time in character format minus RF give me a second. Yeah, SDTTC. Can someone tell me what is called RF SDTTC? Where it will come? It will be part of your demographics domain. What exactly it is going to be? Reference start date and time in character format. So when it is, maybe I can write like this. When, if this event happened before this particular one, correct? Or when this event happened before your reference start date and time, then this formula will be applicable. If not, what is the formula? If it is lesser than this, then it is going to be simply this one. I don't get the minus. Am I correct or not? Right? It is going to be this one. Most of the time it will be, for the screening and all, it is going to be negative. For the other ones, it is going to be positive. Am I correct? The same thing, can I go ahead with the end date and the end date also? This is your AE study start date. If I go with the end days, AEEN, right? This is nothing but study end day. I can simply replace this with end, this will with EN, this will with EN. Maybe I can copy paste this. Done? Am I correct? So these four we are calculating for every domain, right? Only the domain name is changing there. The two characters of the abbreviation of your domain name is changing, remaining all going to be the same. Correct? So these are going to be the common ones. So these formulas should be on your fingerprint. The next one, AEDUR. The name itself is suggesting this is duration of your adverse event. Remember, the main thing, we will not calculate this. The duration, we will not calculate this. Remember this particular one. We will not calculate this. The main thing is we will not calculate this. It is not derived one. Captures from your CF. If it present, well and good. If not present, it will be a missing value. All right. Then, for an example, if someone asks you, it is going to be like, example is going to be something called your P1 DT2H. We can say that for 1 day or for 2 hours. Like this, we can mention. If it is present in the CRF, we can capture it. If it is not present in the CRF, we won't take this particular one. As simple as that. All right. We just have 3 more variables. Let's complete them and we can wind up the session. All right. So then it is going to be AE ENRF. So AE is already adverse event, EN stands for your end, RF stands for your reference, which is nothing but end relative to reference period. So what is going to be this? Can someone tell me this if you have an idea? End relative to the reference period. So simply, maybe I can write it here. It is going to be the timing which describes Priyanka Reddy saying reference start date and time. Not exactly, but slightly related to this particular one, because it is not going to be the date actually. First of all, it is not going to be the date. So it is going to describe the end of the event, describes the end of the event. So what is going to relate it to? The sponsor defined end date or the sponsor defined it is going to be the event, that is timing describes the end of the event relative to sponsor defined reference period. So sponsor is going to define some period. Here, let's say that my span is going to be this, right? This is going to be my reference period, right? So these values, only two things. Either it can be ongoing value or it can be missing. That is, we will capture ongoing or missing values. So what exactly this what exactly it is going to be mentioned, right? Suppose I have start date and I have end date. For an example, let's say if I have this AESDTTC, this is nothing but your adverse event start. My adverse event is not equal to missing. It is not equal to missing. And my adverse event end date and time is there, right? This is equal to missing. What is the meaning? My adverse event started. That is the reason I have the start date. My adverse event is not ended yet, meaning it is still ongoing. Can I say then it is going to be ongoing? Is that correct? So then I can simply say that AEENRF, that is nothing but your adverse event end relative to the reference period, is ongoing. Make sense? There is a time start time period. There is no end time period. End time stamp is not there. So I'm going to call it as my adverse event ENREF as ongoing one. Make sense, guys? Is this understandable? Can I have a quick confirmation? Can someone please tell me, is it understandable? There is a start period, but
Yes,
there is no end period. Yeah. So then it is going to be ongoing. All right. If both of them are, if I have adverse event end time, okay, could you please repeat this? Okay, sure, we'll do that. Okay, let's take one of the example here. Take this particular one itself. For first two, it is missing, correct? So see this. For this particular one, there is going to be this adverse event, the headache, started on 12/10/2005. It continued. It also stopped on the same day. I have a headache, though it is going to be a severe one. On the same day, the event is closed. It started on the 10th of year. It started on the 12th October. It also ended on the 12th October. For this particular one, if I see the reference, the end reference, which is missing, correct? I told you either we'll capture the missing values or ongoing values, correct? Now, take the second one. Same 2005 on October 13th, by 1 o'clock, the back pain started. It lasts for the 6 hours. So by 7 p.m., it got ended. Even for this particular one, my end reference is going to be null. Now I come back to the formula that I have given, right? There is going to be pulmonary embolism. This particular one, it started on 21st October. There is no end date. It is ongoing. There is no end date. You can see that AE-STDTC is not equal to null, but AE-NDC, the adverse event, is not closed yet. Is not closed yet. So that is the reason we are saying that it is an ongoing one. It must be ongoing. I wrongly put it this, but I have put it this properly here. You can see. So the AE-NRF should be marked as continuing, ongoing. It is an ongoing one because the patient is even you can see that the severity is high, the seriousness is high, and you can also say that the outcome is recovering. He is still in the recovering mode. But on the first two, the patient, these two events are already recovered or already resolved. So this is continuously happening. It is continuing. Correct? Since it is continuing, we can see that the patient is life-threatening one. The patient is having life-threatening event, and he has hospitalized, and he's recovering, and the seriousness is high, and the end reference is ongoing. Can you connect all the dots now? Every one of you? Are you able to connect all the dots? Right? You can also see that the study day, AESTDY, still 9. It is going to be 9. Still it is happening. Guys, is this understandable? ST, are you able to understand now? What exactly is this? Perfect. Any follow-up questions on this? All right. Now, let's go with the next one. The same one, right? This is nothing but, the reference we talked about. For the same reference, what if I want to talk about the time point? That is adverse event, end, reference, time point. TPT stands for your time point. That is end reference, end relative to reference time point. It is not the period, it is going to be the time point. Again, almost it is going to be the same. It is also going to be the timing identifies the end event being before or after the reference time point. That is, this is the timing. There it describes the relation to the reference. So here it is going to be the timing identifies the end point. What is that? The timing identifies the end of the event as being either it can be before or after the reference time point. So we have some reference time point, we have some reference period. It can be either before the reference point period or it can be after the reference time point, right? So what I can say, which one is going to be defined, on what basis we are going to be defined this? Here you have this one, right? AERENF. Oh, sorry, maybe I need to talk about something else here. That is time point defined by a variable named as adverse event ENTPT. What is this ENTPT is going to be talked by the last one. Maybe I can complete this and I can come to this calculation because there are a lot of calculations for this. So let's come to this. What is this end time point? This is nothing but end reference time point. Because we are talking about the time point, based on this time point only, this relative time point will be calculated. Okay, this is nothing but maybe I can okay, let's talk in a simple way. This end reference time point is nothing but last visit date of the subject. That is nothing but when is the last time the subject visited the hospital or subject visited the clinic. That is going to be an end reference time point. So where I'm going to get this particular one? Can I say that all my subject visits which will be possible, sorry, all the subject visits which are part of my subject visits domain, in the subject visit domain, whatever is going to be my end date time and end date and time in character format is nothing but my last day. That is nothing but my end reference point. Correct? When was the last time the subject has visited this particular one? I can have multiple end date and times, but whatever is going to be the last dot u subject ID, last dot u subj ID is going to be my last visit date of the subject. That will be called it as your end reference time point. Based on the end reference time point, we are going to calculate this. Is that understandable, guys? I'm going to call it as what is going to be my end reference point. The end reference point will be calculated like this. Okay, now come back to this particular one. Come back to this particular one. So what are these values are going to be? What are these values are going to be? These values are going to be, or I can say that we can call this as control parameters, control terminologies. So what are the control terminologies that are possible here? Number one, either it can be before or it can be after. I told you this here itself. Or it can be ongoing, or it can be unknown, I don't know, or it can be same date of treatment, coincident. It can be any of this, right? So let's talk about it. If it is going to be before, if it is going to be before, that is adverse event happened before the treatment, that is adverse event before treatment. The meaning is adverse event before treatment. If this is the case, right, then how I'm going to get this particular one? If AESDTTC, that is adverse event start date and time, is lesser than your reference start date and time in character format. That is, my treatment is before my this particular one. Then my end reference time point is equal to before. Am I correct? Why it is going to be before? My adverse event is before my treatment itself. So I simply call it as a before. What is this? If my adverse event is after my treatment, then what is going to be the condition for it? If this one is going to be greater than this, adverse event is after my reference start date and time is after. Am I correct? First we are defining it, then we're going with each of the formulas. What is ongoing? That is adverse event started, means the AESTTTC is available, but we don't have AENDTC. We don't know what is going to be the adverse event end date and time. That is, this value is missing. Can I say that it is going to be ongoing one? We just now discussed this. So in this particular case, I can say that AE end reference time point is nothing but ongoing. Guys, are you able to follow now how we are defining it? Right? Let's say we don't have any adverse event values. We don't have any adverse event values. In that particular case, it is going to be, I don't have any of the values. I cannot define this particular one. I don't know the value of it. I'll just leave it. Finally, if it is going to be the adverse event happened on same day of treatment. The adverse event happened, the treatment happened, both of them happened on the same day. Your adverse event is equal to this particular one. This is going to be coincident. Make sense now? Every one of you, are you able to follow now? Can I have a quick confirmation? Any questions? Wonderful. So tomorrow what we can do is, yeah.
Murli, the before variable, before the TPT variable, which we have just defined, can you just show that on the screen?
This one or
the before, the prior to this? Yeah. So for AENRF, also we will have terminologies as before, after, and ongoing, or it will only have ongoing?
You can see here. We will capture ongoing or missing values.
Okay.
Only two things. Either it can be ongoing or it can be missing. On what case it is ongoing and what case it is missing means I have a start date, but I don't have an end date. It is going to be ongoing. I have both start date and time, end date and time. Then it is going to be blank.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay. If it is populated, then blank. Okay.
Exactly. Questions? All right.